Hey y'all, it's Dr. Lakeisha Watson, an epidemiologist and data storyteller, translating data into health insights for Black women. Welcome back to Epi Fridays. Okay, so last week I actually had the pleasure of speaking on a panel about epidemiology and infectious diseases to a class of undergraduate students at University of Maryland. And it was such a great experience. And one of the questions posed to the panel really stuck with me. And it was, as an epidemiologist who is always in the data, do you see data as numbers or people? And I love that question so much that I wanted to bring it here today because I think there is something in science that doesn't get nearly enough space, and that's empathy. The kind of empathy that changes how we collect data, how we design systems, and ultimately how we save lives. So let's get into it. In epidemiology, we spend a lot of time with numbers, rates, risks, ratios, dashboards, gadgets, and gizmos aplenty, okay? But here's what the numbers can't do on their own. They can't explain the full story of Black women's lives because numbers can illuminate patterns, but empathy helps us understand the people inside those patterns. And with empathy, the data stops feeling so distant. It starts looking like our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties, our sisters, our friends, and parts of ourselves. And for my fellow scientists, empathy is a scientific skill, right? It creates rigor. It makes us ask deeper, better questions, and it forces us to think about the environments people live in, the stressors they carry, and the systems they navigate. And it also reminds us that when Black women show up in the data with worse outcomes, it's not because something is wrong with us, it's because something is wrong around us. When empathy is missing from public health, we end up treating symptoms instead of systems. We tell people to eat better, sleep more, stress less, while ignoring the neighborhoods without grocery stores, the jobs without flexibility, and the clinics where bias shapes care before the exam even begins. We tell Black women to advocate for themselves in places where self-advocacy is treated as aggression, and we talk about maternal mortality as if it's purely a medical issue when half the time it's a listening issue. So what does empathy actually look like in epidemiology? Well, it's slowing down long enough to understand someone's story before defining them by an outcome. It's designing studies that reflect real lives and not theoretical or conceptual models. And it looks like using our data to advocate and not just publish. All right, so let me get back to the question I always ask during the panel. As an epidemiologist, do you see data as numbers or people? And so here's the answer I gave. I see people first, and the numbers help me tell their story. Empathy turns statistics into stories, research into responsibility, and public health into a tool that actually honors and protects people. All right, y'all, thank you for spending another Epi Fridays with me, and I will see you next week.